Hi, everyone. Welcome to What Lives in the Lacuna. This is our Lacuna Tangent, so our kind of mini episodes that we kind of came up with on the fly, I think, last weekend. I am Remy Renard, and with me is my co-host.
I am E. Donohue, and as always, really excited to be here.
Okay. So this past weekend, I think I texted you and I said, I just watched this movie. It was crazy because we hadn't done our Morally Gray podcast, but we had done our monstrosity episode. And so I watched Obsession from 2026. And I have to say 2026 because there's several Obsession movies. So the director is Curry Barker, and it stars Michael Johnston, Indy Neverett, and Cooper Tomlinson. So those are the big actors, the main actors in it. And oh my gosh. So this movie had so many things going on, and it was brilliant in a lot of ways, but it really pushed my boundaries. So the two things I want to talk about today are the themes of monstrosity in the movie, namely who is the monster in the movie. And somehow our man and bear in the woods conversation can fit in here because the main character's name is Bear. And the filmmakers,
this is like such an example of the universe, like listening in, because I'm like, how does this movie have so many of the things that we just talked about in this podcast?
I know. My brain exploded when I watched it. It was like everything. You're right. It was like a moment of kismet, right? Like it was just incredible. So just to give a brief overview of the story, Bear, who's the main male character, is in love with Nikki, who they're friends. They have a friend group. Nikki obviously does not feel the same. Bear goes out and buys something called a one-wish willow. So you make a wish and you snap it, and your like wish comes true. So even in the plot, I'm not giving anything away. Like he knows that his wish comes true, and he wishes for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world. That's his wish. So that's the complication. That like the wish framing, I think, is the complication here a little bit. But his name is especially interesting because, like you said, his name is Bear, Bear. And like, I thought it was a nickname or something, but the filmmakers gave him the name Bear because of the man and bear in the woods debate that's been happening. I guess it doesn't happen anymore. We had it. We talked about it.
We settled that.
Yeah, so he presents himself. So this is why it's interesting. Like he presents himself in the movie as the safest possible, like choice. He's the safest known quantity because he's the nice guy. He's the friend. He's like meek. He's a little like awkward, like he's kind of pathetic in the friend group. So he doesn't think of himself as dangerous or any of these things because his internal narrative is that he loves Nikki and he cares about Nikki, right? And so I think this is where kind of but this whole like framing of like, I'm the nice guy, I love Nikki, is what ends up making him monstrous in the end. So the nice guy piece kind of gets really interesting because he's not like sitting around thinking, ha ha ha, I'm a villain, I'm going to just violate this woman in every way possible. It's just he keeps like telling himself that, he's a good guy, that he's doing what he needs to do, or not that he needs to do, but she loves him and he loves her. And he's doing this while like repeatedly violating her autonomy over and over and over again. And so I'll get into like Nikki here in a minute, but he believes so firmly in how harmless he is that he doesn't recognize like how much he desires Nikki as violence. So it's like quiet violence, I don't know if it's a film term, but I've heard the term quiet violence, whereas Nikki's violence is loud, like bloody loud, like faces peel, like it's incredible. I mean, it is such a just, distinct separation there. But I also think, I also wonder if choosing the name Bear had kind of this ironic piece to it, because if it is the filmmaker saying like, you better watch out for the nice guy because he is the known you know what I mean? So I felt like there was a little little irony there too. Like, people are now recognizing like maybe the nice guy is not exactly the nice guy in films, you know what I mean? So, but there's this sense of privilege, I think, with nice guys where they feel like they get it, like I'm super nice. I would never hurt anyone. Anything I do would be because I care about, you know, her or you, whatever that is. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that I just love the name. Like that was so cool to me when I found that out, because like I said, we talked about it with our monstrosity thing. So, you know, I thought there was a couple of layers with that there. So to get into the wish, I'm going to look at my notes here because I outlined this. So his wish isn't like he wants her to be happy. His wish isn't like, I want us to be together. It's he wants her to love him. He wants her to love him more than anyone else in the world. So his desire becomes like everything to her. It invades her mind so much that everything she does has to relate to him in some way. And there's a scene where he goes to work and she stays home, and it's like she shuts down and she just stands in the house 8-10 hours, and she's covered in bodily fluids because she hasn't moved the whole day. And so he comes in and it's like she turns back on, because like when he's not there, she's not, you know.
That's so creepy.
She doesn't exist. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and the biggest problem is that Bear knows right off the bat that Nikki's, like, his wish came true, and that Nikki immediately starts acting weird. So Bear knows that there's something wrong here, that there's a whole, you know, that there's layers to Nikki now, not just, you know, I mean, she's nowhere near the Nikki he claimed to love. She's a basket case in so many ways. And when so her real self is still down, like down below the wish Nikki, or what they call freaky Nikki. That was the nickname everybody's been giving her. So the real Nikki's underneath, and she pops through every once in a while. And that's when the violence and the monstrosity happens. Like, that's when it gets really terrifying. And let me tell you, oh my God, the way they make her body move, like they move film backwards and slow it down. And it is, I had to look away. It was terrifying, but it makes her look like the monster of the film. And she is not. She is a victim here. Like, Bear is the monster. Like, that is, I mean, I think everyone can agree with that, but it was just incredible how you have this woman who's, you know, killing people, who's, you know, boiling cats to eat, who's, you know, like doing all this these terrible things in the name of love, but she's not the monster, right? Like, and, you know, even they even have a friend, Ian, and so Ian and Nikki, you find out later, have like hooked up a couple of times way long ago, but he knows Nikki, and he keeps asking Bear, he's like, what's wrong with Nikki? What's going on with Nikki? So everyone could tell she's not exactly her too. So, I mean, and even though Bear's like super terrified of this erratic behavior, he still continues to be with this wish version of Nikki. And to the point that, like, the sex is where the reading gets disgusting, because they only show one scene of it, but it's, you know, it's disturbing in a lot of ways. The way, like, her face, the way that she kind of, like, you know, as it happens. And like I said, he knows early in the movie that, first of all, that this is not the Nikki he loves. He also knows that there is, like, the real Nikki's underneath. And he makes very light kind of gestures towards trying to fix it. So it gets to a point where he, like, calls the number on the back of the box. And, you know, they're like, it's a weird conversation because it's a weird movie, but, and then eventually he goes back to the store and tries to buy another willow, you know, so he's like doing these things, but it has to like hit a weird, like the one time he shows up, he's like covered in blood and trying to ask for this one wish willow to fix it. It shouldn't have really gotten to that point. If he was the good guy, right, he would have tried to fix it right off the bat. Like, he would not have moved forward with this, their relationship or anything, in my mind. But,
I mean, I feel
he
like I would even argue that if he was the good guy, he wouldn't have made that wish in the first place. Because,
absolutely.
That's
a good point.
A truly good guy isn't like, well, but I'm clearly the best option and it's my right to make that decision for you, because that feels less like love and more like control.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely correct. And I even saw, so just a side tangent, I saw this TikTok of this woman who was trying to convince people that Ian, the friend, was the monster in the movie. And I was like, okay, he may have been a crappy friend for like sleeping with someone his friend obviously thought he loved, but that doesn't make him the monster. That didn't make, because Bear doesn't know about that until halfway, 3/4 of the way through the movie. And he's already made the wish like within the first 15 minutes of the movie. So like, I mean, there's these readings out there that are, I think, a little too deep, like trying to reach a little too hard or trying to find a different monster, which I find fascinating, because why are we making excuses for Bear?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that? So there's also this one of the most unsettling things was Nikki packs him a lunch to go to work. His lunch is his dead cat, whatever. Yeah, it was like, you knew it was coming. You could feel it coming. You were like, that doesn't look right, but she includes pictures in the lunch, right? So there's a picture of him. It looks like a surveillance photo, or she like took it out the window and it says you. And then there's a picture of her beside him sleeping and it says not me. So she's like coming through. She's trying to like ask for help when she's asleep. She asks, Bear to kill her because she can't deal with this. I mean, she's being tortured every day that she's like this. So, I mean, it's just visually, behaviorally, Nikki presents as a monster, but morally she's not. And I find that fascinating. It's such a weird distinction, I think. And not weird, it's interesting in that usually monster aligns with monster. But we also had the conversation in our first podcast that, visually and behaviorally, sometimes that's not the case. So, I mean, it kind of falls into that too.
Do you know what it weirdly made me think of this, and it didn't feel, I didn't watch this movie because I am no good with horror movies. I will be awake for 3 days. It kind of made me think of the selkie mythology, if you're familiar with that at all.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, a human being who is also a seal and can change into human from seal, kind of a little bit monstrous. But the control in those stories is in whoever takes the selkie's skin. And then the selkie is forced to live on land when that is really not what they want, and their sadness is very evident. And the parallel that I find really interesting is that the men in those stories, because it's usually men that take the seal skin, they're not vilified for doing it. They're like, well, what other reasonable decision could a person make? There's a naked woman in a seal skin. You do what you got to do. And like, they're not vilified for the choice they make. But in my reading, they are the monster of that story because they're exerting control over somebody who does not want that control exerted. And I guess that motif is just really old. I've never really thought about it before in those things.
That's amazing. I love that. I would have never put that together. So I'm glad you said something about that, because I think it's interesting too, in that, he buys what he thinks is essentially a toy, the One Wish Willow. He uses it and then it works, which I don't know if we're, some of the people who are reading this are like, oh, well, he didn't know. Okay. But once you know, and they make it very clear, like even in the first interaction they have after the wish is done, like she comes up and she's, freaky Nikki, but she looks in the mirror and she snaps out of it and starts screaming. And then she goes, and when she looks away from the mirror, she's like herself, like the freaky Nikki again. So, I mean, he knows. He's not stupid. He's just horrible. It's like, oh, I get what I want. Great.
I'm sorry. Like, okay, maybe he didn't know it was going to work, but what kind of wish is love me more than anyone else in the world?
Right.
Because that is not about being in love with someone. That's about wanting someone's entire devotion.
Yeah.
And
That's
those
a
are
child's
two different
wish.
things. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. To me, that's a monstrous wish right from the jump.
Yeah. So, I mean, fascinating movie. It was so well done. And it definitely picks up like there's a lot of nods to other horror films in it, which is kind of fun. But it apparently there's going to be a second one. Like they're going to pick up Nikki's story because of what happens at the end. Cause I'm not here to ruin endings, but, you know, it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. So I hope I know what I want to happen with like a female revenge story, but whatever, but it is worth if you can stomach a little bit of blood and weird camera movements, which is what really got me. Check it out. It's on Peacock right now for free. So if you're subscribed, or you can usually get a free trial to try it out. So
I'm interested enough in this as a premise that I would give it a shot. It would just have to be at like 11 in the morning so that I can like fully decompress.
Yeah. Oh, I turned it off and then I turned all the lights on, and my husband's like, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and be standing it. Cause like she wakes up in the middle of the night and she's off in a corner. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say. This woman who played Nikki, who was it, Indy Navarrete, the way she could change her facial features, like just a tick, and it changed her whole personality. She was brilliant in that film. Like you could tell who she was and what she was feeling. And just like one little movement would make her look so off that it was terrifying.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've never seen her before. I'm sure she's in other things, but she was incredible in this film. So
shout out for a really, really talented actor. I love that.
Yeah, she was incredible. I mean, everyone else was very good too, but she was the star. She stole the show. She was incredible. So I can't wait to see what happens in the next one, because I'd like to see more of her, because I think she was just amazing. And I'd watch it again just to watch her performance again, because I think it's worth another watch for her. But I also have to just get over now my fear of her backwards walking slowly, and like the way that they moved the film was more terrifying than any of the bloody stuff. So, but anyway, check it out. Obsession 2026 on Peacock for free. And I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah. And follow us, like, and subscribe for more full-length episodes and more Lacuna Tangents, because we have more coming.